Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You can't go on, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. Like girls, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I'm going to miss this. David?
Are they going to change the intro now that we've been here for a week?
So I tried to start with good vibes.
Just wondering whether they will.
David whispered to me during the SNL Open of your guys' program that we're not in it. Me and him, we're not in it.
I was in it.
And
just feel like that we're here from time to time. We do weekly things.
What would you be doing in the intro video? What would your bit be?
I'd like to run through. Lucy got mine. I wouldn't need to be at the end, but I like the idea of running through a finish line.
Well, that's already taken, so you need to
a
pick
new
something
bit.
else.
we saw it just this morning, what David should be doing in the montage, which is running as far as possible from your dog.
You sure you're going to miss this?
You know those songs that like are for parents about kids growing up? You're going to miss this is one of them. There's the Darius Rucker, It Won't Be Like This for Long. Those songs wreck me. Now that my daughter's like 8, if you play one of those songs for me, I will start weeping.
You have 10 years.
Because it's true. It won't be like this for long. Every stage, you think this part's hard. Oh, your kid's less than 1.
Is that how you feel about the show? Is that why you're bringing this up? Like,
No, I mean, no, because he said you're going to miss this. So like, it made me think of that song.
You're going to know your kid more as an adult than you do them as a kid.
But that's why. But that's like, it's sad almost. Like, obviously it's happy, but there's a sadness in your kid getting older because you're just like, oh, but I can't go back to that.
I watched a new movie on Amazon called You're Cordially Invited with Will Ferrell.
Is it
and
good?
he gave a quote.
No?
He gave a quote,
Wow, that
and I don't know whether it's true, that you see your child 92% of the time you spend with your child is before they're 18.
Oh, because you just, after they get past that, you don't see them a lot?
Well, they move on. They're adults. And
also sad. It's like
is there a chance that's the right stat?
Why is there a sadness with this? I want everything to be happy with my
It's like
child.
the jelly bean stat.
You kind of also reflect on your parenting after seeing your child grow up as an adult. Like, did I do the right thing and everything? What type of person is your child?
Did I screw this up?
should I had this kid?
We have a lot to get to. I regret giving the steering wheel to David Sampson this early. I apologize for that. We have Dan Patrick and Dan Le Batard, I guess, a retrospective on a thing that just happened. They reflected on this on the microphone that I want to play for you in a bit. We have Willow, Jess's dog, running around, which I love.
Looks
David
like a
Hayes.
horse next to David Sampson.
Truly.
Honestly, like, I just
cold,
wanted to
man.
spice things up on a Friday. I knew it was like the last day of trade deadline week. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to bring Willow and see what happens.
Had I known, I would have told one of the people here to go get one of those 3-point hats. Would have told Pablo to lend your blazer to Sampson, get on, and then put your hand in your pocket and let's take a picture. Got our own Napoleon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kids these days don't appreciate
No.
the hand tuck. David, I wanted to start today with a scoop. I've been trying to find out stuff. Pablo Torre Finds Out is a show where I find out stuff. I've been trying
Where
to.
can we find that?
You can find it on YouTube, also the DraftKings Network, and also wherever you get your podcasts, incidentally. I've been trying to find some stuff out for you guys exclusively, and I have something. We'll get to New Orleans. We'll get to
Is it breaking
Kendrick
news?
Perkins. It is breaking news.
Can
Do
you
we have...
put the heat mouthpiece in your mouth that Dan puts in his mouth?
No. I am not a mouthpiece for the heat. I am. What's the opposite of a mouthpiece?
Butt
A
plug.
cup?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if we have. Do we have a butt plug sounder?
Sure.
I'm on it.
I'd be surprised if we did. Right?
I was hoping for the breaking news music.
Oh, we can
We've
do
been
that.
playing it all week.
Yeah,
That's music?
Hold on.
Is Chris here?
There it is.
That's music.
It's a good song.
Breaking news, exclusively reported by Pablo Torre Finds Out. and the Dan Le Batard Show for the week of February 7th or whatever it is today. Kevin Love isn't running his Instagram account.
No.
That can't be true.
So for those unfamiliar, Kevin Love is taking the internet by storm. He's posting memes. He's been chronicling the Jimmy Butler saga the entire time, and we've been praising it for being
Creative.
creative, bold, unapologetic,
Funny.
messy,
Funny.
and funny.
And also, for movie buffs like David and I, that's
Good one.
well
he's got-
researched.
He's got good. He's got good. Well, there it is. That's it coming out.
Felt that one.
That's
That's
the
a
sweet-
little late.
That's the breaking news sounder for Pablo Torre finds out.
Yeah. So
He's not. Okay.
I was waiting.
It's
for
beginning
you.
to hurt. For the audio audience, it's beginning to hurt.
It'll get better.
Kevin Love's got a guy. Kevin Love has got a guy. And Kevin Love, does any of this shock you? Does it disappoint you guys? Because to me,
You said shock.
yeah.
It can be shocking.
To me, I was trying to get aggregated, and now I'm just going to get aggregated for a butt plug sound. Yeah.
Yep.
Don't worry, we'll post this whole thing on Twitter.
Great.
Yes, I'm surprised, Pablo. I thought he was doing it himself, but now I feel like an idiot for thinking he was doing it himself. It makes sense.
Is this an old person thing where he's actually curating it and he's coming up with the creative, but he just has a team and he sends it to and they post it?
The most generous defense of Kevin Love is the one that Chris just made, and I don't believe that is the case. I mean, I'm sure he co-signs
has
it.
approval.
Has approval of it. But it's funny, right? Here you have an account that has made a very messy, dramatic thing that has disappointed cardboard Pat Riley. And it has been praised, Kevin Love's thing, as being subversive. And in fact, it feels like it's not his account, and also the Heat are kind of in favor of it, I am also told.
Pablo, he retired from the run. He had a retirement post, said the run was over. Like, that's how epic it actually was.
Contract expired.
Do you know who is posting?
I cannot say that on
here we
air
are
just
again.
yet. It's a mini scoop.
I'm just
It's
asking.
a mini
hold on.
scoop.
We're not asking who it is.
Yeah.
We're asking, do you know the identity of the person? I mean, I don't think that changes, that betrays any confidences. You just gave away that it's someone else. All we're asking is, do you know who the
I
someone
know,
else is?
so not to sound like Dick Cheney proving a negative, I know it's not him.
Okay, so you don't know the identity.
Pablo, could you stop?
Okay, can you
Why are you trying to
answer-
find out about me? I'm trying to help you guys find out about something else.
Is it one person or did he hire like a firm?
I believe it's a person.
Okay.
Sources close to the situation report that it is one person.
This wouldn't be the first time something like this happened. Antonio Brown has a very successful Twitter following. It's confirmed, does not run his Twitter account.
No.
Yeah, it's Jeremy.
We were discussing that. It would be so crazy if Jeremy just randomly was
Put that
running
on the
Antonio
poll.
Brown's account.
Is Jeremy Taché the funniest person to be shadow operating Antonio Brown's Twitter account?
Oh, I thought they meant Kevin Love. Did you guys not mean Kevin Love because
No, I
of his
meant-
Heat relationship?
No.
No, it's funny.
No, I
Let's
thought-
slow everything
Keep up,
down so you
See-
understand the joke.
Please do. Bring it
It
back.
was
Izzy.
Antonio Brown's account, not Kevin Love. Jeremy Taché shadow running Antonio Brown's
Because
account. You with
Antonio
us?
Brown's account is horrifically inappropriate. So we were trying to think of like who's the last person. We have to like
Antonio
really walk.
Brown's a former wide receiver for
No.
Football
that
is a
I didn't
game
need
played in
explained.
America.
Yeah, thank you guys.
America's
I'm happy
a land
to go as
that
deep as
Christopher
you want on
Columbus
this
landed
bit.
in.
So football evolved really from the game of rugby.
Yes.
And so over time, they
face
allowed
masks.
forward passes. He's very good at
Thank
catching
you,
those.
Jessica.
Some people get hit in the head a lot,
so
and they
close
go
to
a
you.
little crazy.
A lot of people think the Vikings also came before Christopher Columbus.
Mm.
Some also say that Native Americans traversed the Bering Straits.
And it
to
ends in
enter.
the game this weekend or something.
There's
I
this thing
can't
called the
remember
Big
who's
Bang
playing.
Theory,
Oh, I love that show.
whereas life, as we know it, was created from an explosion, a collision.
Or
and
an
from
apple.
that, we got Antonio Brown and Jeremy hypothetically running his accounts.
In the beginning, God created life.
And he rested on Saturday.
I don't know if we'll have time for awards again today because we got to do other stuff. I am just continually impressed by just the vibes Roy has been bringing this week.
Great job. I'm with you. Roy,
The Roy Award.
Just
Early.
great. Great.
This is
Roy
like
of the year.
it's
Thank
like people saying that Steph Curry's the greatest shooter of all time. It's like, no, we don't have to wait for his career to be over. Like, we know it now.
We already know.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of awards, and by the way, just to rest the case, this was not a joke. Kevin Love actually is not running his Instagram account. This is a thing across. I mean, what? The number of guys who are not actually who they say they are, which is to say themselves on the internet, We should just not assume anything at this point about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the time, this is what I found. People who are incredibly funny and witty and insightful on social media and quick typically aren't normal people. They're people. They're like, very rarely you get a shooting star like Josiah Johnson, where it's like, oh, he's funny in real life. He's actually funny and engaging as a real person, not just behind a keyboard. But the vast majority of the accounts that we really enjoy are manned by people who are just recluses, who are socially awkward.
And the exception who proves that rule, of course, is Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And I want to get to this story, right? So we'll get to New Orleans again. We'll get to the Dans. We'll get to their awards. They love awards even more than we do somehow in New Orleans right now with the NFL. But Kendrick Perkins, God bless him. God bless Kendrick Perkins and the oxygen that his massive lungs have been sucking out of the room that the NFL tends to own. Do we have that tweet? Can we show that tweet? Video team, this is me filibustering. And play. What? It's not a video? It's just text that I have to memorize? Great.
You just talk, and we'll put it up when we
Very
get it.
good. So Kendrick Perkins went on ESPN in front of Bob Myers and said something that caused Kevin Durant to retort. And we
It's
believe
easy
that,
to get Kevin Durant to retort.
Well, to Amin's
should
point,
note that.
absolutely. Yeah. He loves to retort. Kendrick Perkins had made the claim, though, that the true leader in Oklahoma City on that Thunder team, where it was him and Russell Westbrook and James Harden, was Kendrick Perkins. And Kevin Durant said something in response that I would like to show the audience.
If you would have asked for this before the show, we'd probably have it.
Wait a
Great,
second.
very
Why
good.
did you tell him to keep talking?
I do not.
You
Kev,
should
is
have
this our
whispered his
first
ear.
day
We don't-
together?
I'm going to miss you guys.
You should have said we don't have it.
I'm gonna miss this.
What Kevin Durant said in response to Kendrick Perkins saying, quote, "It doesn't mean your best player is your leader. When I was with the Thunder, it wasn't KD, it wasn't Russ, it wasn't James. I was the one leading." And quote, KD quote, tweets this and says, "I know this may be a reach, but this comment is by far the craziest shit I've seen this week."
And he sees some crazy shit.
Yeah, including Luka Doncic being traded in the middle of the night.
And
Including
him not being traded.
Him also being traded in the not. Thank you, video team. I want to get to what it means to be a leader, though. Right? Like you guys, Amin and David, you both worked inside of these pro sports franchises. Is this ridiculous? Is this actually crazy to contemplate that someone like Kendrick Perkins would be actually ahead of Kevin Durant in the leadership power rankings?
Not at all. It's totally plausible. Leaders, the correlation between the best player on the team and the leader on the team is not nearly 100%. As a matter of fact, I would say it's more than 50%, but under 100. Somewhere between 50 and 60% of the leaders on a team are also the best players. You don't want to go into a season with your leader as a bench player. You want to have an assumed leader as someone who's getting major minutes and someone who's going to be a big part of what you're doing. But as the season evolves, it tends to move and change. Things happen. And Perkins, I think it's possible.
Here's the
Durant to
problem,
be.
though. We've seen and heard plenty of Kendrick Perkins since he retired. Do you really think he fills the leader qualities?
So this is what I say, because I know Perk, right? And the Perk that we go ahead. You know. The Perk that we see on TV.
Chris isn't even going to look at me the way that.
Oh, wow, okay.
You didn't have to say you knew Perk. We want to hear what your point
No,
of view
but
is.
because
I want to know. I want to know who knows
my
Perk.
personal opinion of him, knowing him personally, not from watching him on TV. He's playing a character on TV. Like, he's actually a pretty bright guy, and was part of a very successful team in Boston. So he gets to Oklahoma City, and they're young. They don't know how to win, so to speak. And so I can imagine there's a lot of stuff that he's imparted to these young guys about, look, this is how you do it. This is how we did it at the highest level. If you guys want to get to the highest level, you got to do it like that. The problem is, what Izzy just brought up is Perk's reputation makes it easy to make that joke, because his reputation is what he does on TV, and what he does on TV is hot take gas baggery. And so it's impossible for people to imagine this guy's a leader, get out of here, over Kevin Durant. And so it's easy for Kevin Durant to make that joke as well.
Chris whispered to me while Amin was talking, and he said, "Sorry I was late with that sound. I was trying to workshop a Kendrick Perkins impression."
Well, no. I mean, I would never do that. Roy was working on that.
Rachel.
Do we think it was Durant who did the tweet back?
Yes.
Yes.
He runs his own account. We
Yes.
know
I mean,
that
his
for
problem
sure.
is that he's running accounts that aren't labeled as him.
Yeah.
He's
He
in
runs
fact
his account
tweeting.
and burner accounts.
That was the whole.
That was.
I didn't know that story.
So David knows nothing about social media, and I mean that not even
So
insultingly.
social
not
media
gonna-
was this creation
Bring it on.
where people
Thank
can
you, Izzy.
discuss.
Al
Jessica, you're
Gore
up next.
had this idea of
Go.
a network that would connect
It's
everybody.
actually called the ARPANET in the 80s, and
Thank
the
you.
Soviets were very interested in discovering what it was because the Americans had it.
Go
they
deeper.
Were part
The
of the Cold
advent
War.
of the home computer made this communication very possible as computers became more and more accessible.
Humans
After
like to
World War
connect with each
II.
other in
Thank
any
you.
way possible,
Oh,
and they
Izzy, keep
created
it coming.
this for that purpose.
Wait, did David just say go deeper?
There's a site called MySpace, and you had top
That
8
was the
friends.
opposite. No, that was
Yeah,
taking it
now
out.
you're moving forward in time. I was waiting for someone to come back with Big Bang Theory again.
There was this thing called the Big Bang Theory. A
God
billion
created
years
the light.
later, we got young Sheldon.
Bazinga.
Bazinga.
I think leadership, though, generally speaking, is an interesting topic. I think it is. I think
It's
look.
overrated. I must tell
Okay.
you, in the clubhouse, we had, you want them to police themselves. We prefer the players to police themselves. It just doesn't always work that way. There's cliques in a major league clubhouse. I assume that, an NBA locker room is smaller, but I assume there's cliques in there too.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to find players who move amongst all the cliques. You want to find a player who speaks Spanish and English. We had a guy named Martin Prado who was able to go in between the Latin cliques and the white cliques and the black cliques. And it's hard to get a leadership. of
There
all
are
of them.
enough black players to have a clique?
Yeah. Wait, what's the definition of a clique? Can you have two people in a clique?
Well, David, what happens
Go
is
back.
when a mommy and a
We
dad
had a two-person clique.
Oh, man. That's
So the answer is it's very
Can
rare.
there be? Hold on, put it on the poll. Are we doing poll still? Can
Sure.
there be a two-person clique?
It's called a couple of guys.
It's a couple guys.
I think it's got to be 4 people for a click.
3. I think 3 is the
I
minimum.
think
That's a few people.
Minimum.
There's
three.
several people.
Look at it this way. If they can't have a group chat, they're not a clique. That's a rule
Three
we
is
can
a
all agree
clique.
to.
I think
Yeah.
if you watch Mean Girls and you take out Lindsay Lohan, the 3 of them, they're a clique. The Mean Girls.
You're right. Three's
3 is
good.
the minimum.
But a clique being defined, I think, by its desire to hang out with itself and not the other cliques.
A click is like we secretly talk shit about everyone else here.
Yeah, we don't do it in secret. We do
How
it
many?
on the
How
show.
many? How many cliques are in this office?
Oh, there are a couple clicks.
Oh my God.
There's a back corner click
The
with like
limit does not
Cougs and
exist.
Billy and Thomas.
The limit does not exist.
Wait. Give it. Map this out for me.
Then the back corner, there's like a Taylor, Billy, Thomas click. You know?
Billy's part of the back corner clique?
I think so.
I think not.
No, he is.
He is?
He definitely is.
He's like
yeah.
their little quiet ringleader.
There's like a Jesse, Cynthia, Kirsten,
Yep.
Kristen.
That's
clique.
that's a clique. Yeah, for sure.
Then there's just Ethan.
Ethan.
I thought that can't be a clique. I just learned from you
They
guys.
just had the shot of him by himself, so I thought it'd be funny.
Oh.
Mally.
So
Is
when
Mally
we're
a
making
clique?
the show, sometimes we make jokes about things that aren't actual literally jokes, but we're trying to show something on screen that goes along with something that we're saying to
Is
make
that the
people
whole
laugh.
theory of Big Banging? The Big Bang Theory?
I would watch Big Banging.
He would
This
love
is
to a lemon.
all of this reminds me of the actual leader of this show, who happens to have been on stage in New Orleans with another leader of a different show, and how all of those cliques have been interacting became a topic on the Dan Patrick Show.
Yeah, shots were fired here by his producers. Let's hear what they're talking about the Dan and Dan thing the night before, so let's hear it.
Play.
Dan Le Batard's entire staff was there.
Yeah, they were.
Everybody was there.
They talk while you guys are in the middle of talking on stage? You're going to open up the door. I'm going to walk through it.
I'll tell you what, Stugotz tried to make the
He
night
did.
about himself.
Stugotz.
He sure did. He very much. You knew the minute he entered the building, you knew the minute he left the building because that was
He's got a
turned into
book
his
out, I
show.
think.
I'm sorry. What's wrong with having a fast-paced show? It's it's a little bit harder to keep track than the Dan Patrick Show. It's a little bit more slow, a little bit slower pace. This one's fast, and we have a superstar in Stugotz. What's wrong with any of those things?
They sit in their big lazy chairs, and I see you, Marvin Prince. You think you're sitting high on the throne? Get out of here! Get out of here! Go. I am dismissing formally the Dan Patrick Show. You're dismissed. On behalf of the Dan Le Batard Show, I'm going to carry the flag and say they're dismissed. Who's with me?
I'm with you.
There you go.
I thought it was going to be much meaner. We've threatened to beat them up before, I think.
We have.
I thought they were going to come back with some venom.
That's their version of Venom.
What do you think?
Where does Fritzy
we
get
don't
off?
talk over each other.
Where does Fritzy get off saying that we're going to talk over you? Okay, I'll box him for charity. Let's do it. Me
Yeah.
and Fritzy. You hear that, Fritzy? Me and you.
What do you think Stugotz was doing?
Trying to sell his book.
Smoking?
He was indoors.
Well, I even got the scoop. He was trying to get Stu and Stu as the rival programming to the night.
I'm just offended that the thought was that everyone was there.
Yeah.
Well, who were we?
We have so many more people
my
than
God.
that talking over.
We
Dan.
can talk over so many more of ourselves.
Well, you guys aren't in the open, so neither am I.
Well, wait a minute.
They are. There's 4 people here in the open that are not in New Orleans.
It's true.
I think if we did redo the Open, I mean, are you in the Open?
I am.
Oh, if we redid it, we should have it where you're on the toilet texting us you're going to be running late next time.
What?
We're I mean,
Close up of you flushing.
we may be very messy when it comes to talking over each other. We are very regular in some deeply
As a group,
deep
yes.
ways.
Yes, with the newspaper, by the way, Roy. Under my 20 CV, come out with the newspaper under my arm.
8 o'clock was call time.
Was it?
Yeah.
I never have received an 8 a.m. call time. Never, not once.
8 o'clock is call time for the text,
There you go.
not for talent.
Welcome. Hey.
I've been here a few months.
So
I've
this-
never heard the phrase "call time" said by anybody until now.
I don't think I've gotten a call sheet in 3 years.
Have you guys been jealous, speaking of being left out?
Yes.
Jealous? Okay.
My heart is jealous, but my liver's like, thank you for the week off.
Well, I'm watching Eli Manning not get elected to the Hall of Fame. I'm watching everybody on the big set on Bourbon Street debate these things. I'm watching the NFL honors.
Did you watch Tracy Wolfson spoil the MVP?
No.
And then delete it?
What happened?
She got in trouble.
She tweeted it.
23 minutes early.
What happened?
There was an MVP thing that you tweeted. Everyone tweeted the same picture of MVP Josh Allen, and she tweeted it with 23 minutes to go. It had not been announced.
Who?
Someone named
Tracy
Tracy Wolfson.
She-
Wolfson, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Long-time
And,
reporter.
Yes.
Sorry, the producer was talking in my ear, so
Oh,
I
that's okay.
genuinely
Don't worry
couldn't.
about it. That's how we
Apologies,
do
we were
here.
talking all over each other.
Sorry, I was trying to produce the show because there was a photo that I wanted to show that they're now getting ready for us of someone on the red carpet. Two someones on the red carpet last night. That
That's a tease.
took the world by storm. So she posted it before they announced it.
And then deleted it.
Uh-oh.
And then it was announced because what happened is that people thought Lamar was going to win MVP. He actually had become
the betting
favorite. But
because
then,
he had been, hold on, the story briefly on that is interesting. This part, Lamar had been voted first team All-Pro, and this is seen as the biggest indicator as to who's going to win MVP. He's the best quarterback on the hypothetical team of first-string best players in the league.
it had been 1987 the last time that a second-team All-Pro quarterback beat a first-team All-Pro quarterback when they were head-to-head for MVP.
How does that work? Because when I was an MVP voter in the NBA for the awards, my thing was always your all NBA first team.
You see, it starts with games. There's regular season games, and then there's people who evaluate. It goes all the way back to
Get it,
David.
Hey, you caught on. Good job. Yeah. You get an award.
I'd
Yeah.
like to give
Big
David
bang.
Sampson the award for beginning to get the show with 2 hours left in our stay of doing the show.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened was apparently 9 voters split their votes, and they flip-flopped, basically.
I mean, wasn't there a year where Marc Gasol won Defensive Player of the Year but didn't make All-NBA
All-NBA.
first team defense?
Yes, I
Pretty
was-
much equivalent to that,
Yeah,
right?
I wasn't voting that year though.
No,
See, if
I
the
did.
What
years I
happened
vote,
under your watch?
we
Nope.
we make sure. I ran up all the other voters, all 99 other voters, and say, hey,
I'm sure that's legal.
But
So someone also voted Lamar Jackson in 4th place, which didn't end up costing him ultimately, but now people are very mad at that voter.
You can't really get mad at Tracy Wolfson because, like, I'm pretty sure it was pretty clear that Josh was winning when Lamar wasn't there last night.
well, there's also another thing that happened late, right before the announcement, is a huge wager came in. Like huge, that came in on Josh Allen. And it moved the odds
Was it
in a
DeMar
way that you had
Maxon?
not seen. And it came in through not our partner. It came in through a different company. And I'm totally against bets like that on things where Ernst & Young has the envelope. But in any case, so the lines all moved. Then the tweet comes out, and then it was done. And they did this whole award, black tie, red carpet. The whole thing was building toward the MVP. It was the closest race, in theory, between Jackson
Are you okay?
and Allen. And then it was spoiled. And then it was announced. And then he gave a great speech.
I think that might be a fine with the Venmo bucket presented by Venmo. He cleared his throat.
He used the cough
He
button.
tried to use the cough button, but he cleared his throat so obnoxiously loud that it echoed through the other two microphones in the room.
You
I mean,
sit
that's
me in
not
a
fair.
place without a button.
Hey, buddy,
The button's way
you're
low.
preaching to the choir.
It's not right.
I said that seat needs one of these so I could talk to the guys in the room, so I could turn my mic off.
What, did we run out of money? That's when we ran out of money. Is we could only put 2 things on the table, not 3.
David's phlegm was talking over him.
What's the Venmo? Could someone send me the Venmo?
We'll put it up on the
There's a
screen.
QR code outside next to the door.
I want to
we'll
talk
pay.
about voting, though, right? It's funny to me. It's funny to me how there are actually important, financially important, culturally, historically important, if you believe sports are culturally important, which I do, decisions being made by these panels, largely of media. Right? Like there are these voting bodies. This is the story of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, of the NFL MVP, of the statistic we've been citing all week for Luka Doncic, 5-time first team All-NBA, All-Star, blah, 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 blah. And if you think about those voting bodies, I think an enormous thing that athletes are not doing enough is acting the way corrupt politicians do.
Going out and getting the vote?
Quid pro quo. I mean, just like it is actually ripe to be rife with corruption. And it's just funny. It's like these are sometimes 9-figure decisions.
Yeah, so now it's almost like 6-7 years ago when Anthony Davis played for the Pelicans, he was up for that Supermax.
Yes.
And he needed to make All-NBA, and he would have got like $50 million more to his contract. And Brian Windhorst was the one that said, well, if I were Anthony Davis, I would just go to every one of the voters and say, here's $100,000.
Absolutely.
And then that would still be financially worth it for him to bribe them all to vote for All-NBA, and then he'd still make out with the money.
Being eligible for it, it's not guaranteed you're going to get it.
What do you mean?
I'm asking a serious question. If you're eligible for the Supermax, the team doesn't have to give it to you.
No.
All right, now that was louder than usual.
That's
man. Come
another.
on.
That's another fine. Right?
You have to hit benchmarks. They're predetermined benchmarks in order to be eligible for
But
it.
he could pay off people and then not get the Supermax.
Well, no, he could pay if he pays off the voters and they vote for him to be All-NBA.
It's like an
then
episode
he
of
gets the
Mr.
benchmark.
Beast. You can pay the money to bribe somebody, but there's no guarantee that they actually vote for you. And I walk away with $100,000 as an objective journalist and say, I don't know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
you're
I
talking
voted
about another layer of corruption, which is not telling the truth about your corruption. You just take the money and not vote
Exactly.
for it. But I think what David is trying to do, and grounding us to a halt in doing so, is trying to get to the distinction between he's eligible, but the team does not have to sign him to a Supermax. But if they choose to sign him, this is the Lucas story.
No, well,
if
yeah.
they sign him to an extension, it must be with this threshold that is now a raised floor because he's eligible for the Supermax.
For the vast majority of teams, when you have a player who is Supermax eligible, not unanimous, but for the vast majority, you give him that money because he's worth it, right? The idea is that Anthony Davis, cornerstone, he's one of the best players in the league, and we're a small market team. We want to keep him here. We want to build around him. You give him the money, right? Because he's worth it, right? Now, there are sometimes guys that are like, okay, technically you're worth it, but I really don't want to pay you this money. But that's a lot rarer because, again, the benchmark isn't make All-NBA once. It's you have to have multiple appearances in
really
the
hard.
first 4 or 5 years of your career.
The reason why this is all in my head is that Ben Simmons is now at the end of his 5-year Supermax, and they're working on a buyout. The Brooklyn Nets are working on a buyout of Ben Simmons, and Philadelphia, when they sign him, there's despondency. He didn't get a Supermax, but he
No.
got a max.
Yes.
And you can lose. You can get really screwed with these deals if you don't get it right.
So Ben Simmons did not get a Supermax.
I said he got a max.
Yeah, well, you started with he got a Supermax.
Oh, you said them both.
So, but I just want to clarify to people who heard when
Thank you.
David said this and David said that. Which one is it?
Thank you.
It was a regular max with some bonuses in there. He didn't achieve them. The thing with Ben Simmons is you had a perfect storm of A, legitimate injury, and then B, a weird organizational decision to abandon him in the most vulnerable moment. So when he passed down that dunk
against the
Hawks in Game 7, instead of his head coach, his superstar, his general manager also.
Wait, what is it? I forget. What did his head coach sound like?
Well, look, it wasn't my fault, and it wasn't Joel's fault. I'm not gonna say whose fault it was. It wasn't Daryl's fault either. Yeah, it wasn't Trae Young's fault. You know?
It was painful, man. That presser was so painful.
But to Pablo's point about the voting, I mean, like this, to me, it ends up, it's going to have to be like a committee, kind of like the college football committee, where like you trust people to be objective. Like it used to be basically, it is hilarious. It used to be basically us journalists. Hey, we trust you all to be objective. Never once when I used to vote did I think this might make this guy more money. Right now, it's a lot more obvious. It's just 1-to-1. Hey, if this guy makes it, he's going to be able to make that money. I don't want to have to think that way. I want to just respect the game and let the chips fall where they may.
So this is why for years I've been beating the drum. The NBA is silly to continue to have individual salary restrictions. We have a salary cap. We have aprons. We have all that stuff. All right, so I should be able to pay, if I want to pay Luka Doncic $80 million a year, I should be able to do that. Now, I might go into the second apron, and we see with these aprons how hard it is to continue to improve your team if you're not financially kind of fiscally sound. But that should be our decision.
Well, so that last clause, right? It gives away the game, David. All of these restrictions, all of these gates on how much you're allowed to pay a player are to help. I mean, in the mind of the owners, it's to help protect the owners from themselves.
It's also the union actually wants it more because they want the money spread. Because if you left it to the owners, they would give Luka, hey, come to me for $100. And then all of a sudden you've got players 8 through 15.
Well, also that, right?
Making
Who benefits
minimum.
from the max
The
salary?
the middle class. And we did, you wrote a story years and years ago about Tyler Johnson. And we did a video that got pulled down off of ESPN.
That contract.
Love that. Love that
Still
video.
hurts.
But the whole thing about it was LeBron gets restricted in how much money he can make so that the Tyler Johnsons of the world can make way more money than they should.
He stands on LeBron's shoulders and gets to reach a height that he would not be able to get to if LeBron was not tethered to the floor.
That's a union.
Yeah, and by the way, this is where it's so interesting, right? Like in sports, of course, like the class system inside of the organization meant to defend all of its members, vastly different incentives. But clicks for clicks. To Izzy's point, though, the question of, like, should journalists even have this power, right? Like, you are now making writers, gatekeepers of actual fortunes.
And it's based on made-up awards, right? We just make up this series of awards, and we put value to all of them. We could have, people say defense with championships, right? So why isn't the all-defensive team being the one that's earning you all this money because the team's goal is ultimately to win championships? It's all based on these silly little awards that we just now can pay people more money for. It's just a weird system.
People are upset about the baseball writers with the Hall of Fame in baseball. But it's a major thing that why do the writers have the right, and then they don't have to make their ballots public?
The easy one to me is transparency of voting. You should know who voted on everything. I don't see a defense otherwise.
We have that in the NBA. You know who the 100 voters are, and it lists exactly what their ballot was. So you know exactly who they picked to be their first choice for MVP, second choice, third choice, etc.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have known Tom Brady voted for Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Now, back to the NFL honors. This was the photo that took the internet by storm yesterday. It was of a certain North Carolina football coach and his very young
former coach of Tom Brady
girlfriend. Now, this photo, I believe, was sort of a Rorschach test for just if you're a man or a woman, I guess, because I saw a lot of the men on my timeline reacting and saying, what a flex, like, yo, young girlfriend got the Super Bowl rings. And then I was also seeing a lot of women reacting and being like, this is so creepy and weird.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the women say, he's so hot.
No one's saying that.
I don't want to start an age gap discourse, but I do appreciate the content.
Look,
so thank you, Bill.
It's the level of humor that I think I want to start with first is just that Bill Belichick, back in my day, Bill Belichick was the guy who had no part of any of the things he's involved in now, right? Now he's on social media. He's appealing to young people. He's parading, he's doing step-in repeats.
Yeah.
He's podcasting. He's doing all of this stuff.
Is this I'm not in the machine anymore, or is this I have a young hot girlfriend and she says, Bill, you should do this?
So interesting. Not a mini scoop on the Kevin Love scoop that I got, but
a smaller scoop.
Yeah, what's smaller than mini?
Infinitesimal.
A Samsonian.
Micro.
Samsonian scoop. We got the same brain.
You're not exactly a giant. You make a lot of size jokes.
5'10" and 3/4.
Oh.
That's like 70 inches, David, and 3/4.
Saying 3/4 always makes it sad, though, right? Like when you're like, I need the 3/4.
Yeah, just round it up.
Sorry, I demand transparency of myself and others. Bill Belichick, apparently, I mean, like, she is the person. Jordan, by the way, Jordan, Jordon. Jordan, his girlfriend, is the person who runs his social media.
Oh.
You think Bill Belichick is writing these long-ass captions on his Instagram posts?
And taking selfies.
The point being, when Snoop Dogg comes out with the joke of the night, I don't think we should give credit necessarily to Snoop Dogg as much as just the inherent comedy of this.
What did Snoop Dogg say?
I'm glad you asked.
Because I've been a football fan for a long, long time. I mean, I remember back when the Cowboys was good. I remember back when the Chiefs was bad. And I remember, what was it? Bill Belichick's girlfriend wasn't even born yet.
Oh, dang.
Listen, let's be clear. that just proved that we just wanted a joke about that, because we can all agree that could have been written better. Like, it was like, what was the joke?
Oh, I think he was really high and just forgot the joke.
I don't know.
No, I'm going to tell you, I went to the ESPYs one year, and I sat there.
Look at me, Louis.
And those, like, it's a tough crowd. It's not, first of all, they always like to bring in not a comedian to do this for some reason. They want to bring a sports
Because of
person.
Norm.
Because of Norm.
It's always
that's
Rob
why?
Riggle.
Well, I wish it was Rob
Put it
Riggle.
on the poll. Is Rob Riggle always hosting the ESPYs?
Because it was some person, I can't remember who it was. It was a famous person, but they weren't a comedian. And they went up there, and I was in a mood for different reasons. But I was so incensed by how corny the jokes were and that polite laughter we get there that I purposely would wait until it would die down. And then I would go, oh, I get it, because Cleveland sucks. As a city, no one wants to be there. Oh, I get it, because remember the Cowboys are winning a lot and they haven't won in a long time. I just kept doing that over and over and over again, and I was causing a scene.
But that's not, I don't feel like that's on the delivery there. Like, that was just not
it's
well
hard
written.
to criticize delivery when you say
No, that's fair. That's fair. But I just don't know how that writer's room was like, that's it. That's our winner.
I mean, the punchline.
Anything would have gone viral. What was the punchline? It was just like, I remember before she was born.
Yeah, like the punchline is
that could have been better.
There was a lot of your mama's so fat that she's fat in that joke from Snoop Dogg.
Comedy writers across the country had to be like, that was the joke. Wait, there's a viral clip, a viral joke. What did he say about it? And it's just like, the most obvious thing ever.
Can we bring Willow in here for the next segment?
No. Sure. Yes. Let's do that.
Great.
Greetings to all. Welcome to 2022. Omicron is on the run, and away it went. But oops, there goes gravity, and here comes a new variant. Omaha, Corona, Hut 1, Hut 2, nothing infects the Super Bowl, and nothing stops football.
Racism, greed, trauma to brain and spine. And yet, I cannot look away. Heroes are dead. Science has their heads. Oh, is
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Oh, yeah.
What, David?
DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Oh, you're just theatrically giving a thumbs up.
I like when Chris starts the segments that way. A, it means we have sponsors, so there's business being done. B, he's doing it with aplomb and with gravitas.
You know what? The Chris Cody has a Plum Award today. Goes to Chris Cody.
Good job. Good job. It sounded like that hurt, though.
I delivered it a lot better than I ended the last segment.
There you go.
Speaking of delivery, though, we have a take to get to. Chris?
This is very exciting. We have our Boost Mobile hottest take from the week.
Nice.
And you have a number. We want more of these for next week. 305-486-GOTS. Give us the good stuff. The best call, the most heated, the hottest take. You could talk about anything. It could be sports, Super Bowl, food, anything. Just give us your hottest take. It is
Bill Belichick.
It could be Belichick related. 305-486-GOTS.
With a Z.
And we got a call
Pat
from a
Riley's
listener.
in the way. Hold on.
It is with a Z.
Oh, wait
Wait a second.
yeah.
Let me just move.
305-486-GOTS, G-O-T-Z is the number to call. Send us in your hottest takes, and we have one this week. It's basketball related, and let's listen to it.
Hey, it's Miguel on a mobile. You can call me Miguelito if you want, bro. Never called before. First time, last time, as they say. I just wanted to talk about something that I don't think anyone's been discussing for the last few days, so you'll get it here from me, Miguel. That's my name. Pat Riley, he's a bum. I'll give it to you in Spanish. Es un bum. In Espanol. Listen, there's a place called Century Village in Pembroke Pines. You put geriatric old people there. My abuelito, that's where he was at the end. That's where Pat Riley needs to go. And, it's not that expensive either. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel.
Miguel needs to change his Zoom background at this point.
Yeah, and that's a clear phone, though.
Cortez had a Andy Ellsberg framed photo we revealed on the show yesterday, and Willow's here. And David is gathering his stuff.
That Boost Mobile boldest take from the week is presented by Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in the country. David's terrified. You good, David? You all right?
Yeah, there's just a couple things going on, and I'm trying to focus on the show as we end the week. I didn't want Pat Riley covering up the sponsor, Boost Mobile.
But we do want to put him in a home for, quote, geriatric old
So
people.
we're trying to do everything right. And I want to be in a dog-safe environment. And there's so many wires. I was worried
You want to
about
be in a
This place is,
David-safe
safe for
environment.
dogs.
There's so many wires. There's open wires.
She doesn't chew wires, but thank you for looking out for
Dogs
her.
do chew
But
wires.
she doesn't.
Okay.
She never has.
I was very worried about her. Her?
Her.
Her.
That's why she said she.
Very worried.
Are you guys excited for the halftime show?
So Carl, who just got Willow out of here to save David, has a take about the halftime show, which I hadn't really contemplated.
I really thought you were just steamrolling past Jess. Like, nah, we're going to talk about something else.
No, we're teammates.
Oh, okay.
We're running a
Passing the ball
weave.
back and forth.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see that, David?
It's a thing of beauty, Chris.
The take Carl had, though, Jess.
Okay, so Kendrick Lamar's doing the halftime show, and I walked in this morning and I was like, oh, well, what if this whole thing with Drake was kayfabe, and Drake came out and they did Poetic Justice together, and it was like this whole big like fake beef so that they could have this crazy Super Bowl halftime show, and everyone was like, oh, that would be so funny. And then Carl was like, he can't play Not Like Us because he'll get sued because of this defamation lawsuit. Like the damages will be even higher if he plays it during the Super Bowl. So his take was he can't play that song.
Which I trust Carl on music. He has a depth of knowledge that is.
That implies
kind
you
of
don't trust him in other areas.
Well,
he doesn't trust him on baking, cooking.
Yeah.
Directions.
We all know that. Directions?
Just do you trust him to get you from point A to point
Oh.
B?
I was
what
just
you get
making up
GPS for.
random things, but yeah, directions.
I had not considered that Kendrick might not play the song that everybody is waiting for him to play.
That he won a Grammy over, right?
That he won a Grammy.
It would have come out, though, because they've been rehearsing all week. Don't we assume there would have been a leak? That would be big news if he were playing that song.
Or if he weren't playing that song.
Is he clear from the legalities if he gets up to that lyric and then like stops and lets the audience say the inappropriate stuff that Drake is worried about?
That's the other thing. They never actually play an entire song in any of these things. It's a medley,
But
right?
Roy brought that up, but he wants to, even if it's a part of that song, he wants it to be the part that gets that line.
But in that theory, wouldn't he be able to sue him or whatever, have grounds if he plays that anywhere, any concert with people at and cameras there. Why the Super Bowl is the one? Obviously, more eyes on it, but isn't that the same concept of just performing it at a concert?
Like the concert, didn't he do it like 12 times in a row at a concert a few months back?
I think the theory, though, is that the Super Bowl is more watched than any of those things. And so the damages, if he is found guilty, would then increase.
And the NFL controls it. There's a set list. It's all totally rehearsed, the move in, the move out.
But doesn't the NFL want to be like viral? Like, isn't there part of the NFL like, we want this moment?
You want everyone to sing about the...
No, I know, but...
But also, Chris,
I'm agreeing with you, Chris.
But also, Chris, I like the idea of the NFL saying, damn, no one's talking about the Super Bowl. How do we give it some spice? How do we go viral?
But the idea of the NFL looking at Kendrick and be like, we got you. We'll cover it.
Can you imagine
whatever the bill is?
The gigantic L that Drake's going to take when thousands of people in that stadium and everybody at home just say is A minor.
Does anyone know, like, what are we talking about? Like, how much will this cost Kendrick if he does it, and there's a lawsuit, and he loses the lawsuit?
I want to ask David, because you're a lawyer.
Ballpark, like, what number are we looking at here?
Is this if you were advising Kendrick Lamar, would you say, hey, this opens us up to immense liability?
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation. You're good.
What am I? I'm not doing anything journalistic.
Just answer the question.
It's inappropriate. I'm tired of you. It's bullshit that you've been in that chair the whole week.
Hold on.
Why couldn't Amin sit in the chair? Why couldn't I sit in the chair? You're great in the chair, Amin.
Thank you.
I just find it hard to imagine that it's just, and now he's pressing buttons, putting people... Whatever.
He's asking questions.
You're not. I could have started with that button with his whole Kevin Love stuff.
That
was. Is that you again?
You're not good.
So how would you advise Kendrick Lamar?
The juice is not nearly worth the squeeze.
Here's
how the damages
That's what
work.
all lawyers say about everything. So let's start with that. Like the lawyers are always going to be like, don't do something.
Because a lawyer's job is to protect a client from doing something that would put the client in a position of weakness, either financially or criminally or civilly with specific performance. You don't want to have your client do that. There's no way that Kendrick Lamar has anyone around him suggesting he does anything, but there's no formula. Hey, there's 100 million people watching the Super Bowl on TV around the world. There's 60,000 in the Caesar Dome. Therefore, it's $1 per person.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of math is not how they do it.
So the Washington Post did an analysis of this. In parallel, just discovered this now, but it's helpful journalistically speaking to avoid recklessness. They interviewed a guy named Ken White, a First Amendment lawyer and criminal defense attorney. Drake, of course, has already accused Universal Music Group of defamation for promoting the song in question. White told the Post this, quote, "I would probably tell them that there's a high risk you're going to get sued. So don't do it unless you're ready for a big, expensive litigation. Maybe that's just kind of the cost of doing business."
So there's nothing in there about the amount because there's more people.
There's also nothing in there, I'm sorry, because there's also nothing in there in terms of whether he can say the words or just play the beat, right? Just playing the beat at certain points throughout the performance, I think, is something that gets people connected, and they obviously light up for it. The other thing that I think about this
That would
is...
piss off everyone.
Well, maybe. It could piss them off, but it could be the only happy medium there.
Let the audience sing.
But if
I
I'm
get to the lyric and then let the crowd
It's
do
the
it.
only case of me wanting to hear the audience sing a song. I think I normally hate when going to a concert.
No, man, that's a karaoke move. See, that's a karaoke move. You sing a song that has a part that everybody knows and loves. So that
And then
when
you put the mic in the air.
Then you put the mic out like that. Go ahead and sing it for me. And then you look at the crowd and you realize, I control you all.
But the other part about this is if you're Kendrick, and this is sort of a career celebration for you, right? How much of this time do you really want to spend stomping on Drake's grave? Because that would assume that that is what made you to this level. Kendrick has been building up to this, and then this just happens to be part of his story. At the moment.
Last year has been him just doing this. So it's pretty important, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that too. But if I'm Kendrick, I want people to respect everything I've done before this and not think I'm just a diss track guy.
Didn't he win a bunch of Grammys?
He did. He won
last week?
Record of the Year. Like I hear you, Izzy, but I think if you play, it's only one of probably 10 songs he's going to play parts of during it. But everyone's going to be mad if he doesn't play it. Everyone.
Yeah.
They're gonna just say, "Oh, you were scared."
Not everyone. Drake's going to be fine.
Is there a market for this? Because I would say
everyone minus Drake.
I would say he will not play it.
I think he
sure
does.
there's a
I
there is a market
guarantee.
for this.
I'm gonna go out there. I think he does it.
I-
I don't know if he says
Yeah.
the lyric. We will hear a portion of that song.
To Izzy's point, they're going to play the instrumental for sure because there's nothing in the instrumental that, right? If
Do you know that though? Because it might just be. Izzy might be right. It might just be if any
You're
portion
a
of that
pedo.
song plays.
Isn't that the instrumental?
get a choir to come out and sing it.
You know what? I hadn't considered just the escalating indignity of this if this becomes a Supreme Court case.
Oh, no.
Clarence Thomas is going to decide on this shit?
If Drake,
His wife will.
if the people who control Clarence Thomas, get to decide this case. Look, man, if they teach this class in law school,
First Amendment,
if they
constitutionality.
if they teach Drake's 2024, 2025 as a case study in law school.
Have you seen what he's doing now or where he's been? He's on the other side of the planet, first
He's
of all. Can't be
trying
any farther away
he's
from the Super
trying
Bowl.
to hide
So
and
the
failing.
poetic justice collaboration on stage probably not happening because that was my favorite conspiracy theory that I thought of this morning.
Well, he walked out on stage with a vest with bullet holes in it and smoke coming out of it, as if to say, hey, they shot me, but I'm still alive. It's frankly corny. He's mad corny for that.
Oh. That's a callback.
So good. Southern would have made it better with the drawl.
Southern, not prospector.
Why does it mean waving a piece of paper in front of
Well,
himself?
I'm picking up the topic sheet,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm feeling this thing slowly meet its mortal demise, and I'm like, well, let's see what else is on the sheet.
It was circling a drain that you cannot possibly set your feet atop.
We're out of topics?
We're not out of topics. This topic is out of gas, though.
Oh.
That's why it was just
That was another
transition
callback
time.
to me not liking drains. This is all just
No.
a bunch of inside jokes.
You get that, Dave?
Fritzy was right.
Yep.
This is what Friday shows are for. We get to call back from earlier in the week.
It's a reward to the listeners who have stuck with us throughout the
Absolutely.
week, right? You give them-
We are operating at levels that are clearly deeper than the average listener.
Kendrick levels.
I was very focused on Jake Paul all night.
This Canelo thing?
Oh, that's a big thing. It's a big thing that Canelo, they had a deal, and then Canelo changed his mind. It's
Wait.
done.
Wait,
It's
wait,
done.
wait, 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 wait. I missed this.
This is major news. They announced a
I heard the
Netflix
announcement.
fight, and then Canelo said, I got a better idea. I'm not going to fight Paul. I'm instead going to do a 4-series fight with an actual fighter, which left Paul with nobody.
Wait, well, so how did this happen?
Boy, I hope I didn't miss this. This is my moment to bring
signs
something to the group.
4-fight deal with Riyadh season. Nixing Jake Paul bout. This is according to MMA Junkie.
After it was announced that it was a brilliant Netflix move, more people than Tyson Paul would have been Alvarez Paul. And because we would have watched Paul get his ass kicked, they were going to do it at 200 pounds. And it was going to be huge money, huge
Oh,
everything.
wow. Here it is.
And then
Yep.
he changed his mind overnight.
So it was supposed to be May 3rd in Las Vegas. That was the imminent super fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez. But in a stunning development, according to, this is Mike Coppinger at ESPN.com, Alvarez changed course and instead completed a 4-fight deal, with Riyadh season, of course, going now to Saudi Arabia. What a Mad Lib. What a perfect 2025 Mad Lib.
I'm looking at the tweet that announced it from Turki Al-Sheikh, who is the chairman of Saudi.
I'm glad you're here to pronounce these names correctly. Aviv.
He's the chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority. He announced it with this Twitter post. It's a picture of a lion, and it says, "Don't mess with the lion." Lion emoji. 4 fights for Canelo with Riyadh season. The deal is done. Boxing glove emoji. A lion emoji, doesn't sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Sheep emoji. Fear the lion emoji. Not the jungle. And then I think it is the emoji of a person going like this, doing the X sign in front of them. And it always blows my mind when grown people, not teenagers, but people in their 30s, 40s, and older, sprinkle an inordinate amount of emojis throughout their posts.
Yeah, it's the Nancy Pelosi Wakanda Forever thing.
It absolutely is.
So I'm going to get back. So you're Jake Paul.
Ruth Conda Forever.
Think about what you've done in business. You are at the height. You announced something with Logan, a reality show. You are fighting on all cylinders, operating on all cylinders. You get to announce this Canelo thing, which is going to be the biggest thing ever. And in 1 hour, it all got usurped. And now what's he going to do? He's totally screwed, I mean.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
He's going to have to fight his brother for real?
Well, no, he's not going to fight his brother.
He's got to do something. He's got to have a fight that follows up Tyson. He had two things announced. First against his brother, it turned out to be wrong. It's just a commercial for a reality show.
Stunt, yeah.
There's got to be some 40-year-old MMA fighter out there.
Yeah, or I don't know. Like it's going to be someone who is. That's the thing about the Canelo fight. It's like that guy's in his prime, right? That's not the Jake Paul formula. The formula
he wants it to be. He wants to be a genuine winning fighter.
Does he?
If you're trying to fight Canelo,
I thought that was the whole purpose of the Canelo fight.
Is it possible that we're just going to say this thing and it's not actually going to happen? Like maybe this Canelo thing.
A triple switcheroo.
Yeah.
Oh, that it's going to go back to Canelo Paul?
No.
Where Jake pitches to Canelo, all right, we're never actually going to fight.
Yeah.
So let's announce we're going to fight.
Yeah.
And then you cancel it
No,
just to get me in the news, just so people think you would have fought
I'm real. I tried to fight Canelo. I had Canelo. Here's some money. We don't have to
Don't
fight.
you need more than a day for that?
The Pauls are so good at marketing that I don't want to put that past them of doing something like that. Where Canelo says, look, Jake, I'm never fighting you. But just for pub, I might tease it a little bit.
I'll give you one day.
It is,
one day.
It is funny that we're at a point where rank total incompetence can plausibly be a really smart chess move.
But Paul's proven to be brilliant in marketing. By the way, on a side note.
But when you can't distinguish between intent and incompetence, it's hard to diagnose.
The sweet spot. Yeah.
You just described the show perfectly.
There it is.
There was an inflection point here, though, right? Canelo, to Amin's point, 34 years old, reigning all boxing belts are on some level also fake made-up things that are corrupted, but holds the WBA, WBC, IBF super middleweight titles. Legitimate superstar. And there was a moment here when I heard that fight, the Jake Paul original announcement. Like, boxing is again, everybody's been trying to kill boxing for decades. This felt like the latest and maybe one of the biggest indignities because Canelo was turning his back on actual fights he could have made money on. And here, of course, David, is Saudi Arabia saving boxing.
So the only thing I thought of when I saw it is that he had a deal with Paul that he was going to make X dollars. And Saudi Arabia came in and said, listen, Canelo.
Guess what we have?
We have X plus Y.
We have whatever you need because we have a budget.
We don't have a budget. Give me 4 fights. And Canelo, it was a deal that got done in a day, which is hard to do deals like that. So Canelo had a call. What I was dreaming about last night is the call from Canelo to Paul. Because Paul didn't discover it on Twitter.
Right.
There was a deal that obviously had an escape clause, and he escaped in a day.
Unless that was the deal all along.
Now we're talking conspiracy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
if we'll see what Jake Paul's next.
The reason why it raises above conspiracy in this sense that we know that this individual is not above these kind of things. I don't think he's a marketing genius. I just think he does tactics that most people would say, okay, that's kind of corny. We're not going to do that. We're going to do this for real. And he's not afraid to pull these kind of quote unquote stunts for the publicity. I don't like, oh, no one ever thought about announcing it and then not actually doing it. I mean, it's not that brilliant of a move. It's just shameless.
I don't think he's a marketing genius either. I do think he exists in a time that reflects his natural superpower more than any other time that sports has existed in, which is just getting attention for anything is monetizable.
Is that an insult to your geniusness that you don't want to call him a genius because you don't want to be associated with someone like a Jake Paul? Does it offend you because people?
I just think we need to have a higher bar for what genius
boy,
is.
Oh boy!
I was going to say you can't answer that question and look good there, Pablo.
If you're in the business world, what Jake Paul's done, and you don't respect it,
both Paul brothers. Like I'm with you. I'm with David. Like in terms of marketing, it's undeniable.
So my view has always been like on the Kardashians. It's like they are playing the game better than anybody else's. The question of does that make them geniuses, I think, is a fair debate.
I don't mean that they can go on Celebrity Jeopardy or Family Feud. I'm not, or they can go to Harvard. I'm not talking about equals MC
Kim
squared.
did. Apparently, she got some sort of law degree there, right?
So did Pablo.
A business school degree, right, Pablo?
She went to one of those business school courses that I think maybe Kevin Love went to at one point.
One of the great memes of all time.
Yes.
Her posing in front of it. Use it anytime I don't buy something.
I think you can be a genius without an Ivy League education.
Yeah,
no,
of course,
absolutely.
no one disputes that.
But I think
You're a genius straw man builder.
so.
And a badger.
We live at a time where the economy rewards attention, right? Chris Hayes actually wrote a book about this.
He was on PTFO talking about it.
Oh, nice. How about that? So, and the idea is that, David, just the ability to grab people's attention, that is the most rewarded thing right now. You don't even have to hold the
It's
attention.
the most important and scarcest resource at this point.
Because everyone's attention is so fractured. We're being bombarded by messaging from our devices, from everything around us, right? Because of that, our attention spans are shorter than they've ever been. So the idea that I can get your attention, even for a brief moment, there is a value to that. Now, is there genius in being shameless? I don't know. Like, if we talk about the Kardashians, the startup capital, if you will, of why they became rich and famous was because they decided, okay, we will reveal things about ourselves that most people would say, I'm above that. Is that genius, or is that just, I
Dan
don't
Le
care?
Batard, for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, gets a huge loyal audience to listen in a fractured world, to listen to, even when he's not here, to listen to what we're doing. And you're not going to call Dan a genius for the ability to put together in his mind a show that grabs people's attention? It's genius.
I'm glad you brought up Dan, because we wanted to play a clip of Dan Patrick talking about Dan from their one-on-one conversation earlier this week in New Orleans.
It was a deep dive, and I just he wanted to talk about, my personal journey and my health, and I just was like, no, I don't think so. I don't want to do that. Yes, Eden.
There was a point where Dan Le Batard asked Dan Patrick, what was love like in the house? And I was like, oh, man, we might have to go see Dan.
I was yelling up, there's a trade. There's been a trade.
Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler!
I thought that I was there with Sally Jesse Raphael or Dr. Phil.
So Dan Patrick did not want introspection.
Kids today don't appreciate Sally Jesse Raphael.
And those glasses.
Yeah.
Those
Red
glasses.
I would like to add, they're not allowed to make those jokes. Okay, only we can make those jokes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's our Dan. And the only person
You
who
make fun of
bullies
your
him.
Dan. we make
That's
fun of
our Dan. That's our Dan. That's our Dan. That, David,
Yes?
you're not.
It's not our
on the
Dan?
chant.
No?
I'm chantless.
Okay. I want, on the, there's
There
Jesse
she is.
Raphael.
Is she alive?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that a
era,
fine?
the era
So-
of 90s daytime talk show
Right.
hosts.
I want to talk about this, right? Because
Oh,
I've
yeah,
had
give a
this
sheet.
topic for like weeks now, and it just never finds a way. Now, finally, we found a way, the on-ramp.
You're welcome.
I was watching a clip online of Jerry Springer, and the topic of the show is, my boyfriend is cheating on me on Snapchat. And it blew my mind that Jerry Springer show and Snapchat existed in the same time. It's like when I found out there was someone who was alive during the Civil War who also saw like Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. Like it blows my mind when these two things occupy the same space, and like there's no way. So I was wondering, do you guys have other examples of that where two things from completely different eras actually coincided in the same era?
I was shocked to learn that Pablo Picasso died in the 70s. I thought he was from like the 1300s.
That's insane.
I have.
You could have told me any era in history. I would have said, yep, Pablo was probably there.
Pablo Picasso drove a car.
Yeah, there's like photographs of him.
This blows my mind that you guys thought he was
I'm
like
telling
from
you,
the
I thought
Italian
he was like
Renaissance
from
or
the
something.
AB, the BC area.
The BC area. AB.
But like you've seen what
British
his
Columbia.
art looks like.
The AB.
Please do not ask him to describe cubism, Jessica.
But like,
Let me get my AB joke out that Jeremy is doing the. Oh God.
Oh man,
Guys,
window closed.
Windows, just small windows.
I'm not alone on this. Some comedian did a whole bit on this.
What, Jeremy?
This is a shocking thing that Picasso died in the 70s.
I was gonna ask, by the way, why is Chris Cody equipped with a Pablo Picasso take, and then I just heard the explanation.
Yeah.
Anything
Is that
else?
the same game?
Yes. It's
Okay.
like
One of my favorite details, by the way, I mean, on the 90s era, the golden era of daytime talk show, right?
Uh-huh.
Because keep in mind, Sally Jesse Raphael.
Yes.
Jerry Springer.
Yes.
Maury Povich.
Yes.
Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
Phil
Keep
Donahue.
going.
I
Keep
actually
going.
don't know
Donahue.
Sally Jesse Raphael. What show did she host?
I recognize the lady you put up there, but I did not know her by
Hold
name.
on.
What?
Hold
What about
on.
Ricky Lake?
Ricky Lake.
What about Jenny Jones?
Jenny Jones.
Oh, Jenny Jones.
Hey,
Ricky
man.
Lake, I remember for sure.
You don't remember Sally Jesse Raphael?
She hosted the Sally
when
Jesse
you-
Raphael show.
When we put up the
I've never
picture,
heard of it.
I recognized
Oh,
her
yes.
by looking at her, but I didn't know her name.
I
Mike
recognize
Douglas.
the cursive font that spells out Sally. Like, that's how much it's burned into my brain.
Now, here's the crazy part. Were these people geniuses, or did they just capitalize on the moment?
No, that's
Geraldo.
Morton Downey
Geraldo.
Jr. That's a good question. Morton Downey Jr. capitalized on the moment.
Geraldo.
They had TV shows.
Montel Williams.
Arsenio
Richard
Hall.
Day.
That was a late
Wait,
night.
David,
A late
you're,
night,
you're
yeah.
saying they had TV shows. You just gave Dan all this credit, like he's this genius. It's like he has a podcast. I'm not saying.
No. Okay, so
I'm just saying, like, what's the difference between Dan and what Jerry Springer did?
20 years.
How long did Jerry Springer go?
Take the under.
No.
What are you talking about?
Jerry
my
Springer
friend-
show was running through 2018.
I just told you they had an episode where they were talking about Snapchat. This is like saying, like,
How many
Johnny
years?
Carson had an episode where he was talking about Hinge or Tinder. Like, it's insane that these two things exist at the
27
same time.
seasons.
27
Jerry
seasons
Springer.
of the Springer Show.
Is
David,
that 27 years or 27 seasons?
I think we can meet in the middle on this. I'm not
Years.
saying let's call Dan a genius and
Hold on.
Springer's
You know
not
who,
like
you know
they're
who,
both
you
just,
know who
you
is
know.
a genius?
Me.
31 season long run at the top of his game. Maury Povich.
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
king.
You are
evolved.
not the father.
Former
Did
guest.
you interview him?
my
I've
close
been on an
personal
episode
friend.
of Maury.
What?
Yes.
Were you the father?
Ryan
Were you
and Nanny
pregnant?
took us to a taping of the Maury Povich show.
To watch.
Yes, because they film in Stamford, Connecticut. And it was like a SB Nation field trip. He took the whole video team there. It was one of our coworkers loved Maury. And so he just took us all, and we sat there. They taped 3 episodes, and then we took a bus back to our
Did you get a
office.
paternity episode?
It was a paternity episode. I think it was a polygraph episode.
Ooh. Did you get a phobia episode?
No, didn't get a phobia episode. But I grew up watching Maury because it was always on in
The
the middle
king.
of the day.
Yep, when you get home
in
from
the s-
school.
Yeah, it was always on. My babysitter loved Maury, so I just watched it every single day.
In the case of 27-year-old Jessica, you are not the storyteller. Oh, I thought you said you were on an episode of the Maury Show.
I was. The camera cut to me I was in the front row. I didn't mean like I was a
Yeah, like,
participant.
That would've been
Dude,
more
you
fun.
can't say I was on the Maury Show and
That
then
would've
be
been
like,
more
oh,
fun.
like I saw a taping and they got me in the crowd is different from I was on the Maury Show.
I was on the Conan O'Brien show.
on the Maury Show. I had you
I saw
like
a taping.
them revealing that Lehman was actually telling the truth, and you go like, oh my god.
He was fishing.
She goes to the back. They always go to the back.
Following the camera that follows them. So I talked to Maury about this on the show. It's a really good episode. I'm not just plugging that because I'm here to plug my show. We talked to him about all of this. What he used to do is running around the studio. What he used to do is, he would go to the lengths of making sure he pronounced every child whose paternity in question, their name correctly. Maury Povich, his dad, Shirley Povich, legendary sports writer. He's in the sports media coaching tree. Is Amin okay?
It's a lot of noise.
We need someone mic'd up to play the Maury role to go back there and be like, listen, it's fine, man. Just everything's going to be all right.
My favorite thing, Amin, that Maury told me was that even though he and Jerry Springer, by the way, the late, great
Jerry Springer, yes.
Maury Povich, still with us, still going strong. What Maury told me is that Maury Povich still checks the ratings to see whose rerun is beating the other. He's still taking pride in beating Jerry Springer one of them is no longer with us.
You said from the grave.
I was almost,
Maury Povich is 86, and he's still with us.
Absolutely.
But was Maury Povich ever mayor of Cincinnati? Jerry Springer has that on his side.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't help the ratings.
Oh.
Well,
the question, though, of ratings and why we should admire our Dan is because, as Chris Hayes points out in this book as well, the easiest thing to do now, getting back to the genius conversation, is to grab attention. The hardest thing to do is hold it. So if you've been listening to us this week, if you listen to Dan this week 4 hours a day, just know that you are paying the ultimate compliment to our Dan. You are here for the long haul. It's the whole thing. I mean, you know those guys who go to like South Korea and they cause a scene.
Oh yeah,
That guy.
the TikTok.
Yes.
What's it?
I forget his
Somali
name.
something.
Yeah,
some
yeah,
Somali.
yeah. The point being, he basically yells fire in a crowded theater. Everybody looks at him, and he's grabbed attention.
Yes.
A lot harder is to go into a theater, yell fire, or take out whatever. Do whatever you can. Take off your clothes, and then say, and now proceed to listen to me for the next 2 hours. That is hard.
Or buy my coin.
Is Salt Bae a genius?
No.
Come on, that
I
thing
mean,
was...
he's made a lot of
I
money
can't put
capitalizing
salt
off
on
of
anything
just
now without doing
sprinkling
this.
salt
Listen,
on things.
When you come up with a way to do what everybody else does with their steak, but they happen to do it either this way or they do it this way.
I don't like any of those movements from you, David. None
And
of them.
I love all those movements.
You ever see how much salt
Every
he
last
wastes?
one of them.
You ever see how much
And then he
salt he
does this.
wastes?
Can you imagine being the
It
guy
gets
sweeping the
everywhere.
floor at the Salt Bae restaurant?
Oh man, that guy's he's working overtime.
I don't think you automatically get genius status just because you made a lot of money doing like one thing. I think that
You have to do two
could be
things.
really good at it, but there's also like ways to make a lot of money doing one thing that are sprinkling salt. Like
Where are the geniuses with no attention?
Oh man, they're everywhere.
Also, I have
Inventors?
more importantly, two things that existed at the same time: Grover Cleveland and butt plugs.
Really?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Butt plugs, I assume, were with cavemen.
What? Would you get fashioning it out of rock? Whittle it down.
Og is like, you know what I think would kind of feel good?
Let's spice it up.
Just a little butt plug.
Does this concept not blow your minds of the things that you had no kind of connection?
I love this category. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of a good one.
A lot of what comes my way is that we're now closer to 2080 than we are
Guys,
to 19.
I'm trying to find out, and you're not giving me the space to find out.
It sounded like you were thinking of one and you didn't want to
Yeah.
share it with us. You were just going to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought we were filibustering
Yeah.
for you to think of.
Sorry,
one.
I was trying to be your partner.
I'm viewing my content Spank Bank. This is a private experience.
Spank
I'll
Bank, huh?
share it with you guys later.
It's Florida. There's no spank bank.
Well, there's ways around that.
With that attitude.
While you're thinking of one, let me jump in real quick. Talk about the Venmo bucket one more time. I just want a little review from the week. David was fined on Wednesday for a phone interruption. Pablo also on Wednesday for a phone interruption. Mike on Monday, $2 for a throat clear. Greg on Tuesday for $2 for a cough. Dan made a mistake.
double.
Yeah, that was paid double. Izzy made a mistake yesterday. David had a phlegm today.
I'm disputing that.
There's $173 currently in our Venmo bucket, so this is very exciting.
Nice.
What's the total for me?
$22.
Yikes.
Can I read to you guys from a text that Ryan Cortez has sent me?
Yes.
Speaking of
Miguelito?
people who
Yes.
are seemingly from a wrong generation interacting with those from a different one. Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley's meeting, according to The Athletic, has some hints of our Dan. Quote, Butler and Riley met in person on the afternoon of January 7th to establish some ground rules for how this messy situation would proceed. What followed, according to sources on both sides, was instead an emotional 2-hour sit-down that left Butler bewildered by his 79-year-old boss's behavior and Riley at a loss for how to reach the mercurial 35-year-old star. From Butler's vantage point, Riley was, quote, unhinged and disturbing, end quote, as a league source close to him described it. More specifically, Butler told those close to him that the longtime team president referenced Butler's recently deceased father several times during the meeting, offered unsolicited and unwanted parenting advice, and even shed tears before ending the meeting by telling Butler he loved him.
Ugh.
That
we
doesn't
sure?
track.
Are we sure that wasn't Dan in the meeting?
Oh, that tracks. That tracks with a guy who's been doing this for so long. He's aging. He wants to be able to connect or get his message across to Jimmy Butler. He's just overly emotional at the time. This is a man who has done all kinds of tactics in a locker room to get his team motivated,
Pat
putting
Riley.
his face, putting his face in a bucket of ice until he couldn't breathe. It felt, so yeah, this is him just bringing it all out there, bringing all the emotion that this Jimmy Butler situation created and taking it out.
You know what part of this is exactly that, is that Pat Riley has a mythology around him, right? And in his heyday, that mythology worked.
He's a genius.
And now it's just the ramblings of an old man to the current generation, right?
Miguel, the caller we heard from
Yeah.
earlier.
So
He's done more than one thing, Pat Riley.
Genius.
Coach and GM.
Do you think Pat
Player.
Do you think Pat
Really?
Riley?
Copyright holder.
Do you
Four
think
things.
Do you think he puts
Excellent
a hedge bet?
Let's stop talking over each other.
Do you guys think he puts a hedge bet in on the Eagles because he's going to win so much money if the Chiefs win with three-peat that he puts a little bet in?
You're saying what would a genius bet on because you have a lot of money
Right,
riding on
he's
this
going to
game.
make X dollars with three-peat.
Well,
if the
most of
Chiefs
that
win.
goes to charity.
You don't need to
I love
hedge.
the most.
If I'm Riley, I'm putting like $200K on the Eagles.
So this either way,
It's
you're
a win-win.
well.
Are you trying to have him then split to win both by having the Chiefs win by 1, according to the current
Oh,
lines
if you
at
bet the spread.
DraftKings?
Okay, I was just thinking money line, but yes,
Oh,
I
but
like.
you
I like
take the
there's a
point and a
chance for you to
half,
win
and
both.
then you can win. You
If the
split it.
Chiefs win by
Hell
1?
yeah, that's genius.
He should. I mean, am I wrong though? Well, you guys don't hedge with gambling when you have like a big win over here. If this hits, it's a win. You hedge. No. Okay.
Hedge your bet? No,
I'm an emotional hedger.
I'm not a hedger. I want to win it all.
Are we?
Benson and hedges.
Are we almost done here, guys?
What? We need to do awards.
Ugh.
You know what? We have a little bit before the club. We'll treat our pre-club as a little award session.
Okay.
Coming up next, awards and the club. But there's still 15 seconds. So
I think you did
So
that really, Chris.
Phil, for 15, please.
Chris Cody, EP of the week.
Yeah, all right, yeah. At
All we
least
gotta
you
do is
tried.
clap
yeah.
for 8 more seconds.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
You guys are
yeah.
geniuses.
3, 2, 1, and we're.